Nowadays, it seems that NFL players are getting away with a lot. Let's have a look at a list of individuals who caught the hammer from the league, and we explore players that were banned in the NFL. Some you know, but more you won't. Some got reinstated, some are lifers. Let's dive in and start with a more familiar face. Michael Vick. After pleading guilty to felony charges surrounding a dogfighting operation that he helped run, the league controversially elected to hold off on his suspension status until his sentence be completed. The league then decided to leave the decision to ban him or have him return based on his cooperation with the authorities. Not being able to play out the remainder of his contract, the Falcons demanded he pay back $19 million of the $37 million bonus that they had given him. After legal fees and the money that he had to be paid back to the Falcons, Vick filed for bankruptcy while serving his prison sentence in 2008. After nearly 8 years of sticking to his budget, he had paid off 85% of his debt. After a near-complete turnaround, returning to the league, Vick was given the NFL Comeback Player of the Year award for overcoming not only his criminal past, but his financial debt. He continued to play for the league. He continued to play for the league for a few more seasons before officially retiring with the Falcons in 2017. Darrell Russell. Darrell Russell broke the Raiders fans' hearts. The former second overall pick out of USC, despite having signed with what was at the time the richest rookie deal in NFL history, a 7-year, $22 million deal back in 1997. Having made 2 Pro Bowl trips, in 2001 he registered his first of many drug tests. He failed. He would be finding himself in and out of the league for the next few years until 2004, when the 7th infraction, 7 times, that's right, not 4, not 5, not 6, 7 times, effectively got him banned from the NFL for good. Frank Phillipchock and Merrill Hapes, 1946. This combo, while not exactly household names at this point, both men were excellent football players in the early iterations of the game. In the NFL, the quarterback and the bruising fullback were the most important positions on the field. Both men were, however, banned from the NFL, for both were tied to plans to fix the NFL championship game between the New York Giants and the Chicago Bears. They were offered $3,500 apiece and extremely lucrative off-season jobs to ensure that the Giants lost by more than 10 points. This was found before the game. The two reported to the commissioner and weren't even disciplined until after the game. Phillipchock played in the game. Hapes was not allowed to play in the championship game, which was in New York. We don't want to lose 24-10. Afterward, they suspended the players indefinitely for their involvement. Art Schlichter. Art Schlichter played quarterback for the Baltimore and Indianapolis Colts from 1982 to 1986. At this time, the NFL had rules prohibiting its players to participate in gambling of any kind. Schlichter took his $20,000 signing bonus and began betting on basketball games. By 1983, he was in debt to bookies to the tune of $700,000. He went to the government to protect him, fearing for his life. The NFL gave him an indefinite suspension for the acts when they heard rumors that he was out gambling again. Michael Kendricks. Unlike many of the usual NFL suspensions and bans, there are every now and then a player that breaks the mold and finds more blue-collar ways to get into trouble. Kendricks had been involved in insider trading. Interested to engage in the business world, Kendricks began flipping stocks. Kendricks' friend, having worked for the popular investment bank Goldman Sachs, began to reveal insider information regarding stocks in exchange for $10,000 and various gifts that had included Eagles tickets. Kendrick became the successful businessman he always wanted to be, as his assets had grown in an addition to $1.4 million. Kendricks was eventually caught and charged with insider trading, which carries a max sentence of 25 years behind bars. Kendricks was subsequently released by the Eagles after news had broken that he had been charged. Dexter Manley. Dexter Manley was a two-time Super Bowl champion as a member of the Washington Redskins. In 1989, Manley tested positive for cocaine, and it was not the first time. It was the third time he had failed a drug test. He was banned from the NFL for life. After a year, the league was willing to hear him out and offer him an opportunity to reinstatement. Fortunately for Manley, he won his appeal and was reinstated for the 1991 season. Unfortunately, he loves the nose clams, and soon after he failed another drug test and was removed from the league forever. Laurent Landry. This next NFL player was one of the hardest-hitting safeties in the league, famous for his beastly workouts and aggressive play style. Landry was one of the more popular players in the league. With insane physique, Landry was clearly always a freak athlete. It became apparent why when he tested positive for PEDs, earning him a 4-game suspension, and in less than 2 calendar years, following a 10-game suspension, it resulted in an indefinite NFL ban per league rules. Maybe he should have been a bodybuilder instead. Josh Gordon. The former Baylor wide receiver made an impact early for the Cleveland Browns, amassing only 2,500 receiving yards in his first 2 NFL seasons. The problem was behind the scenes. Josh Gordon loves weed. His battle with substance abuse was beginning to spiral out of control. And it was truly heartbreaking for fans because he was so excellent on the field in between his suspensions. Browns fans were still optimistic that he could be a big part of their future. After all, in just 14 games that year, he hauled in 87 passes for 1,646 yards and 9 touchdowns, earning first-team All-Pro. Unfortunately, the NFL player conduct policy would result in him missing the bulk of the next 3 years, making it very difficult for him to find his way back into the game. Speaking of troubled wide receivers, Justin Blackmon. Justin was another NFL player to get banned from the league. Jacksonville took with the 5th overall pick in the 2012 NFL Draft out of Oklahoma State the 2-time All-American, earning the NFL All-Rookie Team honors. Behind the scenes, this was a different story. Stories of personal struggles were starting to come to a head. He was arrested for driving under the influence in Stillwater, and from there, the off-field issues continued to form. While it was unclear which substance he got in his system, a series of similar events is what led to his NFL player ban. Rolando McClain. McClain was another immensely talented NFL player whose run-in with the NFL policies cut a promising career short. Former 8th overall out of Alabama, was a dynamic linebacker at the collegiate level, but he never really could find his groove in the NFL because he could not stop getting suspended. He ended up getting suspended indefinitely for violating the league's substance abuse policy not once, not twice, but 4 times, the 4th of which effectively ended his career. Considering he was a member of the Cowboys for his final strike, that says a lot. Even Jerry Jones, with his experiences in handling wild players, gave up on him, and he is shameless when it comes to that. Stanley Wilson. Stanley Wilson, a former running back with the Cincinnati Bengals back in the 1980s. Wilson had an extreme cocaine problem. The white stuff cost him 2 full seasons during the prime of his career. The craziest part of it all is that there was one time where it was so bad and so well documented, they still talk about it today. 'Twas the night before the Super Bowl in 1989. The Bengals were set to match up with the San Francisco 49ers. A team meeting was scheduled, and Wilson told his teammates that he had to run and grab his playbook. 20 minutes later, his position coach, Jim Henderson, caught him red-handed in the bathroom. His use had been so extreme and egregious that the team had no choice but to leave him off the roster for the big game, and he was subsequently banned from the league for life. Bernard Williams. And here's yet another player whose drug problems got the best of him. The Philadelphia Eagles left tackle Bernard Williams is only able to play 1 season in the NFL because he repeatedly failed drug tests. The former first-round pick out of Georgia started all 16 games his rookie year, made the NFL All-Rookie team, and then proceeded to never play another snap in the league. After a 6-game suspension spiraled out of control, he continued to test positive over and over again, eventually leading to his NFL indefinite suspension. Rae Carruth. Rae Carruth may be the recipient of the most infamous banishment known to professional sports. The NFL former first-round pick and wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers was found guilty of conspiring to take out his pregnant girlfriend Shakira Adams and their unborn child. The incident took place in 1999. Adams said she was 8 months pregnant and refused to have an abortion in Charlotte, North Carolina. Shakira was shot 4 times. A reported 911 call told them that Rae blocked her car with his vehicle, and a car pulled up alongside her and opened fire before driving away. She was rushed to the hospital and fell into a coma and eventually passed away. As for Shakira's child, he survived but suffered permanent brain damage and cerebral palsy because of the incident. What a horrifying end to a domestic dispute. Needless to say, Carruth was banned from the NFL following these gruesome charges, but that wasn't even the half of it. The sentence for 18 to 24 years in prison would go on, but he would serve only 18 of them before being released from North Carolina's Sampson Correctional Institution in October of 2018. Too soon, if you ask me, and certainly deserving of his sentence and a lifetime ban from the NFL. Well, that does it for now, folks. Who do you think was the most infamous story about a player getting banned from the NFL? Let's say your thoughts and comments down in the section below. If you're new to here and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, why don't you hit subscribe? And down below, if you haven't liked it, give it a like. We'd really appreciate it. And until next time, I am the voice, John Stimmick, signing off.